join them on their journey through the stars. Ancient astronaut theories believe the answer to that question could be closer and more profound than we think.
可以把幼稚弄到最极限的扫吗？
Silicon Valley, California, September 2015. Anthony Lewandowski, the engineer responsible for putting the first self-driving car on a public road, founds the Way of the Future Church. A new religion unlike any other in history. Adherents of this faith do not worship God in the traditional sense. Instead, they promote the notion of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence. Lewandowski and his followers believe that AI will soon be so intelligent that we should begin to worship it in the hopes that it will look kindly upon its creators.
If we were to create an artificial life form, and if it were to develop, evolve, and grow,
I want to understand more about happiness.
it could become superior to modern-day man. This leads us to a very difficult spiritual problem.
我要一直活在那个以为，为什么？
Worship that which they
你真的
believe
是觉得
greater
已
than
经是这样对的吗？
Maybe human beings might interpret this to be some type of a coming of a god and seek to worship it.
So this may be analogous to what happened when robotic extraterrestrials first landed on the planet. They have all of this amazing knowledge, computing power, and to the primitive Earth beings, they would seem as all-knowing, all-powerful, having an answer to everything.
Is it possible that what Lewandowski is proposing is exactly what our extraterrestrial ancestors did thousands of years ago? Did they create not a silicon-based life form like themselves, but one made of flesh and blood, capable of replication, and also vulnerable to aging and disease? If so, does this mean that we are on the threshold of the next phase in human evolution? One where we become transhuman.
I think by the end of the century, we'll be able to digitize our consciousness. Everything known about us, our personality, our memories, emotions, our neural pathways will be digitized. And what do we do with it? I say we put our consciousness on a laser beam and shoot it to the stars. In 1 second, your consciousness is now shot to the moon, where it's downloaded into a mainframe computer and then put into a mechanical avatar. I call this laser porting, and I think that laser porting may already exist. There could be billions of souls laser porting themselves across the galaxy.
If transhumanist technologists are successful, we'll soon be uploading the contents of our brains into the cloud. What's so amazing about this is that this is a virtual fulfillment of Christian prophecy that tells at the end times Christ will himself return on the cloud, and that believers will be given new bodies into which their souls will be transferred, and then they will be able to ascend into the heavens with Jesus through the cloud. So here we have this incredible parallel going on where technologists are creating a technological version of the cloud that perfectly corresponds to what Christian prophecy says is going to happen at the time of the second coming.
We know now that there may have even been a genetic marker put into us to actually guide us in this direction. Does that mean our natural destiny as a species was actually programmed by these advanced beings? Are we just copying what these extraterrestrial visitors had done eons ago?
At some point, we're going to wake up and realize that this technology we're creating may have already existed in the ancient world, and that it was possessed by extraterrestrial beings. And wherever this technology takes us, maybe it was always part of a bigger plan that ultimately takes us back to our origins up in the stars.
prepares for the next phase of its evolution? Will what we think of as human beings become extinct? Ancient astronaut theorists say no, because they argue being human is more than being made of flesh and blood. It's the realization that it is our thoughts, our ideas, and especially our feelings that make humans unique, not only from each other, but from all the living creatures in the universe. It is also this realization that should both reassure and motivate us as we fulfill humankind's ultimate destiny by becoming the next generation of extraterrestrials in the exploration of distant alien worlds.
Films that began to tap very directly into ancient astronaut lore. In 1980, Hollywood released a film called Apollo 18. It concerns the attempted crosses in alien technology. Moving into the 1990s, the film started, which was doing filming. Roland Emmerich was made no secret of the fact that he was very directly inspired by intelligence. Other examples include the 2011 film Cowboys and Aliens, which was produced by Steven Spielberg, the Marvel production Thor, which concerns ancient Norse gods being actually extraterrestrials, and Ridley Scott's Prometheus from 2012. During the promotional campaign for that, he was very open about the fact that he was directly influenced by Eric Von Däniken.
I do feel like it permeates pop culture to the point now where if you took a survey of young adults, I would assume the majority of them are probably very open to the idea that extraterrestrials have visited us at some point, present or in the distant past.
But why is it that the public seems more open now to Eric Von Däniken's ideas than at the time when the book was first written?
Question comes of, are we being influenced from some kind of non-terrestrial source? Is it possible that perhaps cosmic beings, extraterrestrials, are influencing certain people to externalize our alien origins? Science fiction may be entertainment, but when you look at Hollywood blockbusters, so many of them relate to how we interact with other species in the universe. Why is that? Perhaps this is hardwired into us. We know that this was our past, and we know that it will be our future. There has never been a time in history when humanity was more prepared for the appearance of these extraterrestrials. Through our modern science, our understanding of space travel, coupled with our entertainment and our culture that's preparing us for the existence of extraterrestrials, we are now absolutely more ready than ever for the appearance of these beings.
Is it possible that there was an extraterrestrial inspiration behind Chariots of the Gods? And if so, are we being prepared for reconnection with the same beings that, according to Eric Von Däniken, visited Earth thousands of years ago? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest further evidence can be found by examining the vast influence the book has had and continues to have all across the world. During the decades that followed the publication of Chariots of the Gods, ancient astronaut theory was becoming a movement. Growing millions of people were now increasingly open to the idea that not only are humans not alone in the universe, but that intelligent aliens continue to monitor their progress.
And so something began to turn in the entire American psyche. People are asking very intelligent questions.
Although still rejected by mainstream scholars and archaeologists, it was attracting a growing army of researchers, writers, and journalists.
making these places very exciting and fascinating. And for me, it was exciting that, wow, all these places were out there. They can be seen. They're real. So I really have to give him the credit because it helped me travel around the world. Reading Eric's books gave me a whole new view on the past.
And I remember looking through that book and I was instantly hooked. It really just started diving deep into this whole idea, this theory that humans had long ago interacted with and been incredibly altered by extraterrestrial beings.
Fueling the growing army of ancient astronaut theorists were exciting new archaeological discoveries, like Göbekli Tepe, a series of stone monoliths found buried in the plains near Sanliurfa, Turkey, in 1996. According to radiocarbon dating, the structures could be as much as 12,000 years old, more than 5,000 years older than the earliest known civilization in Mesopotamia.
Well, the site of Göbekli Tepe in southeast Turkey very rapidly became one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, because we'd never before known or imagined even that simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures as are found at Göbekli Tepe. These limestone pillars are up to 18 feet high. They're beautifully dressed and smoothed. We've never seen work like that from that period before. And the geomagnetic analyses that have been done of what's under the surface seem to indicate that there are at least 20 major circular structures in this mound. And so far they've dug up to half of them, but there's still an awful lot of work to go.
Eric had theorized that these ancient civilizations, many of them in contact or developed by extraterrestrials, were destroyed in a cataclysm like the biblical flood of the Bible. Göbekli Tepe was built over 12,000 years ago, and we have no records of it being built or who built it. So you have to ask yourself, were the people who built Göbekli Tepe destroyed in a great flood like was depicted in the Bible?
And the theory that I gravitate to the most is just that there was a pre-flood advanced civilization that was almost entirely eradicated at some point, and the idea of that being connected to the Younger Dryas, because there do seem to be a lot of these megalithic structures that were erected around the same time. Like you have Robert Schoch, who's dated the Sphinx, I think, to 12,000 years ago, and we have Göbekli Tepe, which turned everything on its head.
Another, even more recent discovery that has added fuel to the ancient astronaut argument was made in West Java, Indonesia. In 2011, archaeologists began a formal excavation of a site known as Gunung Padang, or Mountain of Light.
Gunung Padang is a megalithic pyramid hill in Java. A Javanese geologist by the name of Danny Hillman has led a team to investigate the deeper levels of the site, and he's found indisputable evidence that it goes back to at least 8000 BC. And indeed, in the centre of it is what appears to be a lava tube, and that has given dating evidence that suggests that there was human activity there as early as 25,000 BC.
25,000 BC? Could this pyramid-shaped hill really be hiding a structure that ancient humans built 20,000 years before the first known civilization? Utilizing a formal excavation of a site known as Gunung Padang, or Mountain of Light.
Gunung Padang is a megalithic pyramid hill in Java. A Javanese geologist by the name of Danny Hillman has led a team to investigate the deeper levels of the site, and he's found indisputable evidence that it goes back to at least 8000 BC. And indeed, in the centre of it is what appears to be a lava tube, and that has given dating evidence that suggests that there was human activity there as early as 20,000
this pyramid-shaped hill really be hiding a structure that ancient humans built 20,000 years before the first known civilization? Utilizing ground-penetrating radar and seismic tomographic scans, geologists discovered that concealed beneath the earth is a step pyramid that is over 300 feet tall.
Gunung Padang is of course linked to local mythology, and in local mythology it means the mountain of light.
In Indonesian star lore, there's a constellation of particular interest. They call it Bintang Biduk. We call it Ursa Major. It is thought that it is the shape of a boat and that the original craft, the original star ship carrying the people came from this place to their land. Their houses, the longhouses, the community structures are built in the shape of a boat, always facing northward in honor of the place of their origins. These star travelers are said to have started the original royal family. The name of the people Toraja means those who come from the stars.
Adding to the compelling notion of star travelers are the ever-increasing number of archaeological discoveries that feature carvings of what appear to be spacemen. Although many earlier examples had already been chronicled in von Daniken's early books, the sheer number of recent finds and the global nature of them has helped to undermine the notion that these ancient petroglyphs are entirely based on myth.
There is a vast number of ancient images that appear to be people in spacesuits. Some of these are in remote places like southern Algeria, where even archaeologists have given names to these people in spacesuits, like the Martian god, things like that. Many of the petroglyphs at 9 Mile Canyon in Utah are very strange. At the family panel, we see what appears to be a man and a woman standing there. They seem to have space helmets on their heads with antenna. The Navajos themselves claim that these petroglyphs were from people who were before the flood, before this cataclysm had come to the earth, and they maintain that these images were many thousands of years old.
But rock carvings and ancient monoliths are not the only recent discoveries that have helped build upon Eric von Daniken's original theory. There are some made of flesh and bone, and where the scientific evidence of ancient astronauts might be indisputable. Paracas, Peru, February 2018. In his ongoing search for further evidence that ancient aliens came to Earth centuries ago, Eric von Daniken travels to the Paracas History Museum to meet with the museum's assistant director, Brian Forster. Forster has promised to give him an up-close look at a remarkable collection of skulls. Skulls which von Daniken believes are not of human origin.
These were all found in the same tomb, and so they were members of the same family.
Over the years, hundreds of strangely elongated human-like skulls have been found all over the world. From Australia, where the skulls were estimated to be at least 10,000 years old, to the Ukraine, where they were found in catacombs that are known to date back at least 5,000 years. Because throughout history, various cultures have engaged in the ritual practice of artificially elongating the skulls of infants by tightly wrapping their heads. Most members of both the scientific and academic communities have dismissed the skulls found in Peru as having been created by using the same method. But Brian Forster is one of a growing handful that does not agree. According to his years of research, a number of the skulls on display at the Paracas Museum exhibit other characteristics that cannot be explained by the native practice of head binding.
What's controversial about the elongated skulls is that in many cases the cranial capacity is larger than a normal human, and therefore they would not simply be examples of cranial deformation, but possibly a separate substance. case, this is a normal looking human skull from the Inca time period. This was a farmer, but then you see the variation in shapes. You have ones which are horizontally elongated like that one, and then you have the classic vertical elongation. And notice the size of the eye sockets. The eye sockets are, in some cases, 50% larger than a normal human being.
Wow, absolutely incredible. You have two possibilities. Or we humans made change. Artificially, we press the head together, the bones together. Or we have it to do again with extraterrestrials.
Very unlikely that it's simple cranial deformation. I think genetically, this person may have been born with an elongated skull.
What can you explain me to this?
Well, I want you to go ahead and hold this.
Mamma mia.
That's a classic Paracas elongated skull.
Except there is no fontanella, I see, nada.
Exactly. The sagittal suture is missing.
Something's wrong here.
Missing the sagittal suture? The fibrous tissue joint found on every human skull, connecting the two large bones that protect the brain? But how could it be missing?
And so medical professionals are absolutely dumbfounded when they see it. It doesn't fit in with a normal human skull.
Incredible.
8 years after Eric von Daniken wrote Chariots of the Gods, author and researcher Zecharia Sitchin began publishing his Earth Chronicles book series, which also proposed that ancient aliens had a hand in the creation and development of humankind. In There Were Giants Upon the Earth, Sitchin suggested that extraterrestrial DNA still exists in humans, and that the proof might be found by closely examining the ancient skull of a Sumerian queen who ruled sometime around 2500 BC, and which is currently being stored at the Natural History Museum in London.
One of the greatest researchers of our time in the ancient astronaut theory, Zecharia Sitchin, who passed away in 2010, had one last wish closing out his legacy of research, which was to test the remains of Queen Puabi.